It's been over 2 years, I think, since Costello passed away.
It still tears me up.
You mentioned him
I
still.
cried about him today.
Fuck.
It's proportional to the love. But yeah, I'll cry about it right now if I think about it. It wasn't putting him down. It wasn't the act of him dying, any of that. Actually, that was a beautiful experience. I didn't expect it to be, but it was in my place when I was living in Topanga during the pandemic where we launched the podcast, and I did it at home. And he hated the vet, so I did it at home. And he gave out this huge right at the end. And I could just tell he had been in just not a lot of pain, fortunately, but he had just been working so hard just to move it all. And the craziest thing happened, Lex. It was unbelievable. I've never had an experience like this. I expected my heart to break. And I've felt a broken heart before. I felt it, frankly, when my parents split. I felt it when Harry shot himself. I felt it when Barbara died. I felt it when Ben went. So as well. And so many friends, like way too many friends. I mean, end of 2017, my friend Aaron King, Johnny Fair, John Eichelberry, stomach cancer, suicide, fentanyl. It's like, whoa, all in a freaking week. And I just remember thinking like, what the? But when and it's just heartbreaking, you just carry that. And it's like, and that's just a short list, And I don't say that for sob stories, just for a guy that wasn't in the military or didn't grow up in the inner city. Like it's an unusual number of like deaths, like close people. When Costello went, the craziest thing happened. My heart warmed up. It like heated up, and I wasn't on MDMA, and I was just the moment he went, it just went whoosh. And I was like, what the hell is this? And it was like a supernatural experience to me. I just never had that. I put my grandfather in the ground. I was a pallbearer at the funeral. I've like done that more times than I'd like to have ever done it. And it just heated up with Costello. And I thought, what the fuck is this? And it was almost like, and we make up these stories about what it is, but it was almost like he was like, all right, I have to be careful because I will cry here. And I don't want to. It was almost like he was like, all that effort, because I been putting so much effort into him. It was like, all right, you get that back. It was like the giant friggin' thank you. And it was incredible, and I'm not embarrassed to shed a tear or two about it if I have to. Like, I was like, holy shit. Like, that's how close I was to that animal.
Where do you think you can find that kind of love again?
Man, I don't know. I mean, when, and excuse me for welling up, but it was just, I mean, it's a friggin' dog, right? I get it. But for me, it was the first real home I ever had. But when Costello went, it was like we'd had this home in Topanga. We had set it up, and and he was just so happy there. And I think it just, I don't know. It was like this weird like victory / massive loss. Like we did it. 11 years. Fucking did everything to make him as comfortable as possible. And he was super loyal, beautiful animal, but also just funny and fun. And I was like, I did it. I gave as much of myself to this being as a human I felt I could without making it, detracting from the rest of my life. And so I don't know. When I think about Barbara, especially, I well up and it's hard for me, but I mean, I talked to her before she died, and that was a brutal conversation, saying goodbye to someone, especially with kids. And, that was hard. I think that really, flipped a switch in me where I'm like, I always knew I wanted kids. I'd say, I want kids. I want a lot of kids. That flipped a switch in me. I was like, I want kids. I want my own kids.
You might be able to find that kind of love.
Yeah. I think because it was the caretaking. It wasn't about what he gave me all that time. And the more I could take care of him and see him happy, the better I felt. It was crazy. And I don't know. So I miss him every day. Every day. I miss him every day.
You got a heart that's so full of love. I can't wait for you to have kids.
Thanks, man.
For you to be a father.
Yeah, well,
I can't wait to do the same.
When I'm ready for it, when when God decides I'm ready, I'll have him.
And then I will still beat you to it, as I told you many times before.
I think you should absolutely have kids.
Mhm.
I mean, look at the people in our life, because we're kind of in case you haven't realized it already, like we're the younger of the podcasters. But like Joe and Peter and Segura and and the rest, right? They're like the tribal elders, right? And we're we're not the youngest in the crew, but we're if you look at all those guys, they all have kids.
Mhm.
They all adore their kids,
Mhm.
and their kids bring tremendous meaning to their life. Like we'd be morons if if
Yeah.
you didn't go off and start a family, I didn't start
Yeah.
a family. And yeah, I think that's the goal. I mean, I think
Yeah, the kids
of the goals, that's one of them.
the kids not only make them their life more joyful and brings love to their life, it also makes them more productive, makes them better people, all of that. It's like it's kind of obvious.
Yeah. I think that's what Costello wanted. I think I have this story in my head that he was just like, okay, like take this, like you
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
And
It was
don't
a
fuck
good
this
test.
up.
And Lord knows, don't fuck this up.
Andrew, I
Oh,
love
man.
you, brother. This is incredible.
Love you too.
conversation.
I
And,
appreciate you.
we'll talk often on each other's podcast for many years to come.
Yes.
Many years to come.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on here. And there are no words for how much I appreciate your example and your friendship. So love you, brother.
I love you too.